Hello, Devon Rexford here. So today I was going to work on my third week of the Bridget Coupson Gel Printing Challenge. So for this week, we have handmade foam stamps. So I've got these that I made previously using a die cut and some craft foam. So you can get craft foam with different texture. I mentioned before. These are stamps I've made in a previous video. I'll link it below. But you can also, here's another example of one I made with different leaves from a different set. Hand cut foam to make stamps. For example, like these are leaves that I hand cut. You can use die cuts. This is some gears that I did. And what I found, this is a single layer onto craft foam. I find it works a bit better if you use 2 layers. So you just glue them. I just glue them with Aleene's Tacky or some hot glue gun. You can use random shapes, glue them together. So these two are hand cut. Well, these two are hand cut. So those work pretty good. So I don't really have a plan for today. I'm just gonna see what happens. Here's another example. This one's pretty cool. It's just different triangle shapes. I might use that. Next we have punchinella, which is the leftover bits when you have make sequins, I guess. I don't have any punchinella, so I'm gonna use these, which are from a die cut set I have from Stampin' Up. So it's this little honeycomb pattern. So it's kind of similar to punchinella, so I'm going to use that. Next we have sponges. So I just grabbed some kitchen sponge, sponge roller, I don't know, we'll see how we use that. And handmade rubber stamps. Instead of carving new ones, I'm just going to maybe use some that I did in a previous video. Probably this one or that one. Packaging material. I thought this might be interesting. It's, I mean, obviously you can use bubble wrap, and I have used that. This is more of a bigger bubble wrap. So we'll see what that does on the jelly plate. And buttons, I found this huge button here that I think would be kind of neat. Maybe what I'll do is I'll attach just a little bit of a handle to it, just with some tape. And lastly is feathers, and I actually used feathers already in my for prompt 5, something from nature. So I have those hanging about, so I'll use those. So I'm not going to use them in order. I'm just going to kind of just play, and we'll see what happens. So my last 2 videos, I had more of a plan. Today I'm just gonna play. I'm still gonna try to get everything on one page, whether it involves collaging or multiple layers, that remains to be seen. I'm gonna start with this Payne's Gray. we still haven't used the packing, so I'm going to put this yellow and then do the packing over top. Then we'll pick it up with another color. What color? I don't know yet. Maybe orange or red or a blue or a green. All right, let's see what happens. With a subtle background. So I'm going to pick it up using this typing paper, and I'm thinking we'll use this PBO blue green and this PBO violet blue. I think instead of doing it across, I'll just kind of do it sporadic. Move my paper out first. I'm going to grab a small brayer. So rather than have a whole planned out session today, I thought it might be fun just to play and see what happens. All right, let's do the pink first. Kind of like to spread that around a bit. And then we'll do the blue. It'll be interesting to see how much the yellow shows. I'm just gonna use the big brayer to kind of even things out a bit. There we go. And put our paper. I didn't quite get to the edge, but that's okay. Whoop, it's crooked. Oh well. Page laid is a page played. Feels really wet, so I think it's going to take a little while to dry. You can see there, if you pull it up, you can see it's not getting everything yet, so just going to leave that there to dry, and we'll be back in a few minutes. All right, it's been several minutes. It's actually raining outside today, so it's a bit more humid in my room than usual. Well, let's see how this looks. So there's the those lines are from where the paper wrinkled. That's okay. All right, what do we have? How does it look? So that's kind of interesting how the blue with the yellow made a nice green. And you can't specifically see the pattern from the packing tape, but because it was a pattern, it did affect things differently. So that's kind of actually kind of pretty. I think my favorite part is actually that's the sponge. What if we take out some art foamies? Haven't used this one yet. What if we do her? Could give her like a little tassel head. All right, let's try that. So I decided to glue it down into a journal first. I just trim the edges with a ruler just to give it sort of a softer edge. And I'm using some Yes paste, which I think this is the second time I've used it. So you just, I've seen other people use it, and you just put a thin coat. I think some people put a thin coat on the base too, but I just put it on the paper, rub it on, and it sticks quite well and don't get a lot of wrinkles. And then I want to stamp on with some white gesso so that I have an opaque base to work with. And I find that the best way to get the gesso on the Art Foamy stamp is actually I just paint it on with my finger or a brush or a roller or something, because it was drying really fast on the jelly plate. That didn't really load it up as much as I wanted. And then I do these little seed pod
thingamajiggies, and I want to vary the height a bit, so I turn one over and I snap it the other way. Then I add some paint. Once it's dry, I add a bit more of the pink PBO, and I just kind of scruffle in some texture with the end of my paintbrush. And I decide to do a metallic orange for the seed pods. I poured out way too much of that orange paint, so I paint around the edge of the paper so that the whole page is covered. And I put a little bit on the lady and on her tassel. I outline those little circle parts with a pink Posca pen and join it on there, just adding little details. And then I add some yellow paint pen to the middle of those circles, and I decide to add some matching circles on her tassel. I'll put a second coat on those because they weren't quite as opaque because there was no gesso base. So you can really see how the gesso base makes a big difference. And here I'm using an Inktense, I think it's magenta perhaps, and I'm just giving it some shading. Shading the orange parts, but also the yellow little bulbs as well. Adding a bit to her, and then next I'm making a second layer of those yellow little circles, little seeds, and I'm outlining her with a black Stabilo. Instead of using a paintbrush, I just smear it with my finger using a baby wipe to wet my finger. And I used my Posca, big Posca I just bought on the outside to make some marks, and I spritz them with some water just to let it flow and spread a bit. Instead of handwriting a quote, I decide to use this Dina Wakley ledger paper quotes, and I find one that I like. It kind of goes with the page I thought. It says, "Strong women aren't born, they are forged in the fires they have had to walk through. They're warriors with hearts of gold." And that's by Sylva Ravenworth. I have no idea who Sylva Ravenworth was, but I really liked the quote. And then I sign it and I date it and just add a bit of outline with some pink Posca. And on the person's name, I just used black Posca. I just didn't want it to stand out as much. And there you have it.
So finish week 3 of Bridget Koopson's Gel Printing Challenge. And I just used the prompts to make just a random background and create a journal page over top of it using some art foamy stamps and a little quote. And that was a fun way to spend a rainy afternoon. Thanks for watching. Go create, have fun, get messy, and please like, share, and subscribe, all those YouTubey things. Bye.